Cashomaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome to Geo Gearheads, episode 417. I'm Daryl W4, back as usual with Chris of the Northwest. And I probably should change that since I've been absent so much lately.
That I'm here along with Daryl, who decided to show up this week.
Yeah, that's pretty much about it. And for those who wish me get well wishes, thank you. It was mostly just total exhaustion. I'm still not over my cold, though, as you can probably tell.
But haven't you had warm weather the last couple of days? I mean,
that doesn't help.
Oh, okay.
That makes it that much worse. And it makes it that much more depressing since I've not been able to get out to cache, really.
Well.
You know, yesterday's Christmas, and I found 0 caches.
I found a webcam cache yesterday.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't think you'd have a webcam out there anymore.
Well, I traveled a bit. We went to our local German village of Leavenworth for the 24th, 25th. And so I went and found the webcam cache that I'd been there before and didn't even think to look for it. And this time I did it on purpose. Now, the webcam itself was very slow in refreshing. I mean, I probably spent 30 minutes combined in front of this webcam. And, you know, you can only wait so long before the other family members are like, goodbye, see you later. Like, oh, okay, I'll come to catch up with you. And so the best shot I had was one of my back when I first got there, looking at my phone, trying to figure out which way it's facing and where it is. And, oh, well, I got a shot with me in it. It's my back, but...
As long as it counts, you can log it, you're fine, right?
Exactly.
Well, Ian says, hooray, Daryl is here for once. Well, I've been here more than once. I will argue that point, but yeah, no, it's good to be back.
You know, in the last 2 weeks, you've been here once.
This is true. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I apologize because I would not have done that to you last week had I realized what the show was. I was so exhausted that I actually paid attention to what the StreamYard said the show was. In the list, which is the show like next week, not the show from last week.
Well, so. Daryl, no worries, because it was a randomized one of my favorite shows. And I had such good participation from the chat. It was like, you know, I had 3 other co-hosts with me. So
hey, it was a great show. I actually did get a chance to listen to it. Not so much to watch it, but to listen to it. And I really enjoyed it. But there was so much more that I had wanted to stick into the randomized show. Right. And again, I was thinking, oh, that's not for a couple of weeks.
Well, and I didn't get through everything on the list. So
no. And next week we are doing the refresh the game board. Mm-hmm. But the week after we had to do another randomized show because we haven't even talked about things like the locationless caches coming back.
Exactly.
Or should we say the locationless cache since it's only one?
Singular. Speaking of last week, Ian says, update from last week, the iPhone 11 Pro sucks at GPS-related things. Yes, you know, I've heard a lot about this in this last week, done some research. And, you know, the newer the iPhone, the worse the GPS performance seems to be. So,
and it's not alone,
folks.
Yeah, we've been hearing problems like that with a lot of the Android phones as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been hearing anything that does 5G
mm-hmm.
is going to be that much worse. There's a lot of trouble with the 5G signals interfering with the radios.
Well, we even have Antaeus, who says it seems like the latest iPhones are that way. He has an iPhone 10.
Oh, Antaeus, did you actually say that?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You just bring up a chat window and he pops in. Hey, how cool is this?
Yeah, this is the new StreamYard technology.
Whoa.
You know what? We've also got C. Nelson on to join us tonight because we're going to be talking about FTFs, and hopefully these guys are going to tell us how we can actually maybe catch an FTF or two, which, I can't seem to do anymore. But for some of us, like GSM times 2, who says he's a recovering FTF-aholic, we just need to figure out how to get rid of all of those other FTF hounds.
It wouldn't be a problem if, you didn't have the FTF hounds coming after you.
It is such the trouble with FTF hounds out here, but not as much as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this has happened to a lot of people. There's a few people who have kind of claimed the regions.
Right.
And so no one really goes racing around for them anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's people who still go hunting them, and there's still, some contention, but it's not like it used to be. I mean, the heyday for me was probably about 8 years ago, where we'd have FTF parties, because there's like a dozen people that show up. So you're all just standing around for an hour chatting as you do it.
Did you wait for everybody else to find before? Did you guys do it that way, or once somebody found, everybody claimed?
Well, whoever found it that was there usually got it. It depended a lot on who did it, but it was a group effort. Of whomever was there. So everyone's out there, everyone's doing the searching. Whoever found it signed first, but they usually share the FTF with everyone who was there.
Sure. A group FTF.
Yeah. And a lot of it too was most of the time when you had more than 2 teams there at the signing, it was a really challenging one, and you needed all those people to help rule it out.
Right.
Or to solve the container.
We have a train probably about 20 miles in a city about 20 miles north, and whenever a cache gets placed on that one, the way we had been doing it is everybody gets their own chance to find it. So if you find it, you go and sit down, and then let the other people make their find on it before, and so everybody finds it before we pull it out to sign it.
Nice. Now, is there a word that you use or a phrase that you use to say you found it, so they don't?
You just go sit down.
You just go sit down. Okay.
We generally yell out watermelon, and then everybody gets to sign the log as FTF.
By the way, Caching Dead says that they resemble that remark. FTF hounds rule.
You know what, Daryl? In case somebody brand new is starting with episode 417, and that can happen, we should probably explain what an FTF is and why people would go after that.
Because no, I'm not going to go there. It's first to find, of course. That's the new caches that gets published. The first people go out to find it, and the first to sign the log and log online. And it doesn't matter really who's the first to log online. It's all about who's the first name in that logbook.
Exactly. Right. So yeah, first to find. So geocaching.com doesn't keep track of these. So what's the big deal?
No, it is not that's a good point too, that geocaching.com has no tracking of this. That doesn't mean you can't track it through geocaching.com and some other tools, but I'm sure we'll get into that a little later. But as to why this might be such a big deal is next year is loop year. 2020 has 366 days, and a lot of people are trying cool new things. Some of them are trying to hunt those FTFs.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're not going to do it for 2020, it's a good thing to try at some point. And I haven't done it in ages, so I want to get back into it.
When's the last time you got an FTF, Daryl?
Ooh, I'm trying to remember, and I want to say it was about 2 years ago.
Wow. And Chris?
Mine might be farther back than that.
No.
Yeah. For a while, things were happening. I used to send it to my cell phone directly, by putting in your phone number at AT&T. And that became severely delayed. I mean, I would get the notice of, hey, there's a new cache, and I'd go, and there's already 6 or 8 signatures on it. and there's no one around. So, when it was delayed more than an hour, I was like, I'm done. I don't have the tools to do this. So just recently I've rejiggered my notifications, which we should probably get into how they're set up. And I'm a little closer to real time now to be able to go get those.
Mhm.
Well, and we should say that for most people, the instant notifications is the way they're going to find those.
Mm-hmm.
You can get the little flag in Cashly, or I think actually CGO does the same thing that says FTF.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering about that.
But it's only going to find which ones don't have a log. That's all it's doing. So it doesn't give you the notifications.
Right. Now, last summer, I was, my wife and I traveled. I was in a region. She was doing a class, and I went along for the weekend. And we stopped in the area and looked, and I was like, hey, there's a first to find opportunity. Well, I saw it that evening. I'm not going to go out tonight. And it was still there in the morning. Like, So I dropped my wife off at her conference, and I went on to do that. And I was actually second to find. So the first to find had not logged it online.
Well, and this is one of the things that GSM times 2 just mentioned, that in the old days, at least in his area, people wouldn't log their finds for 48 hours. And he thought it was more fun because he didn't know if someone else had found it.
Right.
And during that peak of everyone running after him, we actually started doing the same thing out here for the COs, because the cache owners, because they were having problems that after, the first to find, it would be months for that second to find.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, I'll admit it. If there's an FTF, I'm going to go after it. But if somebody else has beat me to it, I'm not going to go get it unless I'm working on some other challenge and it, meets that requirement. I'm going to leave it alone until, I got a caching day out and I'm grabbing, 20, 30 caches.
Right.
Okay. What happens if you get to ground zero and there's somebody else there? Will you just drive on, or was it, since you're there, will you go log it?
Go ahead.
Depends if they found it first. If they've already found it, then might just leave them to it, or might just take a second to find. But if they haven't found it yet, it's always fun to cache together.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I would stop and chat if they found it. And maybe I'll get lucky and they haven't found it yet, and I can get the co-FTF with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, Daryl? It was last year I found an FTF. I forgot about that.
Oh, okay. So it's not that long ago.
It was a friend who had alerted me. He said, "Did you find it yet?" I said, "Find what?" And I was at work, and it was lunchtime, and it was half a mile from me. I'm like, okay, off I go. And
nice.
Sure enough, I had forgotten about that one. Aha! So I do have a first to find.
There you go.
Ian says that GeoGo does have that first to find flag as well. And the important thing that we want to get across with those first to find flags is that's not going to help you find potential FTFs as much as it's going to show you the caches that you're looking at which don't have a log. So if you want to find an FTF, if you want that notification, and we've kind of hinted at it already, the first to find hounds need to be out there quick in most cases.
Well, before we get to that, though, I see a comment from the Caching Did New York saying, as a courtesy, FTF should be logged ASAP. So, and then who was it that said earlier about waiting 48 hours?
GSM times 2, who responded to Caching Dead saying that he disagrees. It's more fun if you don't log them. It's more exciting.
Yeah,
that's a whole argument that we could really get into.
Yeah, we definitely.
I'm glad that GSM 32 guy is not near me, because I would be taking his name in vain.
Yeah,
very often.
So around here, people generally want you to log them ASAP. So I mean, I know that I'm going to go out of my way to go get an FTF, and it may be 30 minutes out of my commute to work. And I'm going to go for it. And as soon as I see another log on it, I'm going into work. I'm skipping it. I'm not going there. So
Ian,
it's possible. And a lot of people are like that.
Yeah, well, and Ian's saying that nowadays people get ticked when you don't log them right away.
Exactly.
You
Yep.
know, I think that depends on the community.
Exactly. It's all about the community and what it is like in that area. Because some areas you don't get people going for the FTFs either.
Mm-hmm.
Some places an FTF is quite the adventure. So it would make sense. Okay, you want it logged because it's going to be half an hour, 2 hours, even more just to find the cache. If it's not a first to find, you don't want to waste that time. So you're going to be upset if you're out there in a fourth to find.
I do think it is one of those different strokes for different folks things, because right now I go for one FTF a month just to keep my streak going. I've got 9 years. And so, yeah, 108 months. So for me, I don't want to waste my time searching for something. I can move on to the next one, the next FTF at that point.
Yep.
We still go out and geocache, but when it's that time of the month, I want to know what that I'm not wasting my time going for something that's already been signed.
Mhm.
So, and I've been like 5 minutes late or 15 minutes late, and oh man, when you have to drive half an hour for the cache, that tends to burn just a little bit.
Yeah, so let's actually dig into it. And then Tejas, you put together a nice guide to how to go and set up those instant notifications. And this is, for anyone who might be wondering, a premium member service. So if you don't have a premium membership, this is one more reason to get one.
So do you want me to go into how to set up instant notifications?
Well, actually, maybe we should start with what exactly this does for you even before we get into how to set it up.
Okay. So what the instant notification service does is well, it depends on how you set up your notifications. You can set up notifications for quite a few different things, but in our case, of course, we're looking for the new cache publish. So as soon as, say, you've set up traditional caches for to notify you when a new cache has been published, it will notify you either via email, SMS, depending on the way you have it set up. It will note. Sometimes there's a little bit of delay, and that could be because of your service provider, whatever. But it will notify you as soon as that cache has been published, so that you can get up off the couch or whatever and go run out there and get it. That's basically what instant notification is.
Yeah, and it happens by email. There's no push notifications. It's all via email.
And if you want it via SMS, you have to know the basically the email domain for your cellular service provider. So
yeah, or use another service that will do it for you.
Right.
But back in the day, there used to be some other tools that would allow you to do some cool notifications from this, but it really comes down to it's just an email service. So all of the normal email issues still apply.
And one of the important things to take away is that you have to set up a notification for each type of geocache that you want to be able, geocache type that you want to be able to go get an FTF on. So a lot of people will go in and set it up, but it may only be for traditionals. So they're not getting those notifications for
puzzles,
streams, virtuals, because who knows, maybe another round of virtual rewards will come out. Locationless.
Yeah, the virtuals were something that I set up, but I don't know that the locationless is really going to work.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because of that proximity.
There's a comment from Ian that kind of looked a little bit funny. When there's 5 FTFs, yep, that one. This is the first to find hound right here.
Yeah, well, there's 5 FTFs all around town. You can't log them all right away, or people will know where you are and go straight to the ones you're farther from.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's a little bit competitive.
Yeah.
So, but you have to be watching those caches that have just published. You have to go out, browse to them, and put them on your watch list. Otherwise, you're not going to know when somebody has found that cache.
Yeah. And here's the various notifications that I have set up for my personal account. So I added the virtual cache one most recently because, well, virtual rewards came out and I wanted to know when those were coming out. But I've even got like the local events so that I can go and find those. The other nice thing is you've got the option to turn these off.
Yep.
So if you set something up for like a vacation, you can set that up ahead of time, turn off your local ones, and turn back on the vacation ones, and vice versa when you come back, and save yourself some time.
That's actually a feature in something that Jeff's going to talk about in a little while in Project GC, where it'll actually, you can have it update where you're traveling, and it will then update your FTF radius for the various finds or the various
very cool.
publishes.
All right, so let's actually get into how to set these up, because we've been talking about that for like 10 minutes now.
Okay, so if you want to set up notifications, go and log into geocaching.com. Again, you have to be a premium member. Go up to your dashboard. That's where it displays your geocaching name up in the top right corner. Click on that, and that will take you to the dashboard. And then scroll down to the left along those menu items, you'll see premium tools, and you want to click on set up notifications. And then, so once you go there, if you have any set up, you'll see them displayed. Otherwise, click create a new notification, and you will be able to name the notification, choose which type of geocache you want to set the notification up for. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, you have to set up a notification for each individual type that you want to get a notice for. By default, it's going to show it's going to set it up with your home location, which, you know what? I don't know where you set that up at.
Your home location?
Yeah, it's in
your profile.
In your account preferences, basically.
Yeah. All right.
It's done by coordinates, but I think it does have a geocoder now.
So you can leave it with your home location, or you can set up notifications for different areas by postal code, and then you set up the distance from that spot that you want, the radius that you want to get the notifications within, and the max being 50 miles. And then you just set up what email address you want it to go to, and that's going to default to your primary. If you only have one email address set up, it's going to default to that one. You can go ahead and add additional email addresses, and you might want to do that if you want to set it up so that it goes to your phone as a text message, an SMS. And that is basically setting up notifications.
And I will say one of the nice things about setting up those individually for each cache type is you can set up different radiuses and different routines. So for something like a puzzle cache, you can set up like a 20-mile radius where you only want like a 2 or 3 mile radius maybe for traditionals.
No, Daryl. No. You don't want that. You want a 50-mile radius so that you can go out and get the FTF.
So around here, if it's more than about 3 miles, I have no chance of getting it.
Oh, okay. That may also be true here, but I want to be able to see every new cache published just in case those other FTF hounds are out of town, at work. I mean, because you get to know people's schedules.
Very true, yeah.
You get to know when the publishers or when the reviewer is going to publish caches. So yeah, I want to know where all of them are, and I even have multiple, notifications set up for further out, just in case I've got a free day and I can go travel a bit out of my normal caching area, or at least my normal FTF radius.
What's a free day?
You don't know what that is right now, huh?
No.
Well, I'm kind of lucky. So with work, I get whenever I have to cover a weekend, I get a free day that I can spend. So once a month, I get a free day, and I usually, not always, but I try to take that day to go out caching.
Always nice.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's when
I've heard about people like you.
But hopefully that's when the reviewers are going to publish. And ours, I never have a clue when he's going to publish. It's seemingly random. So it does tend to be more mornings than evenings.
When I first started, going after FTFs, we had a reviewer. It was Prime Reviewer, and I mean, he was definitely a creature of habit. He always published at the same time. I knew that when I woke up in the morning, there was going to be a bunch of new caches published. He always did it too late or too early in the morning for people to still be up, but he has since passed away. We have another reviewer, and I don't quite have him down yet. He publishes at all different times.
Ian says that his reviewer does weekdays around 8 a.m., weekends between 8 and noon, which makes it tough since he has to start work at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a problem.
No,
right, so where do you... Oh, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Just going to say that's not fun.
No.
Sure.
Well, and that kind of became a problem for me too, is typically they did the publishing while I was at work.
Yeah, and that tends to happen around here too. And we have a lot of people that are retired that are FTF hounds. So if I'm at work, man, there's not a chance I'm going to get them.
Now, where are you guys actually sending your notifications?
You want to go first, Chris?
I do my email because it's going straight to my Gmail, so I get it almost instantly.
And you have push notifications set up for your Gmail?
Yep. And my phone is my right hand, so.
Yeah. So I've got mine set up to go to my Gmail accounts, but I have mine all of my email accounts are set up in Outlook on my phone, on my iPhone. And I have only my geocaching one is set up to display a banner to give me feedback that I have a new message. I disable that for work. For my personal email, it's only my geocaching address that pops up and notifies me. So because I also have a Apple Watch, as soon as a new cache is published, I'm checking it right here. And somebody actually not a new geocache, just something I'm watching.
Bye, Jeff. You got to go.
Gotta go. So as soon as a new cache publishes, I'm feeling it. I'm checking out my wrist to see what's going on.
See, CacheBot used to do that for us, where you'd give it in a, set up the email address through it. It would do the response to verifying everything automatically, and then it would do push notifications through CacheBot. So that was really handy, and then they had to kill that off due to some changes with the emails. And I suspect that the push notifications were costing him a little too much money too. But, he had to kill it off for other reasons. But a lot of people I know do go directly to the phone and will set up different text tones for that.
Oh, yeah.
And you were mentioning earlier how to set that up with the phone number and then the special domain names to make that work.
So you have to go in and set up the additional email address in your account settings. And I've provided in the show notes a link to, I mean, you could probably just go out and do a Google search for SMS to email or email to SMS and discover what your particular provider's domain address is. But there's a link in the show notes. You can see what, Verizon, AT&T, whatever the other ISPs are, and then set up your notification to send it to your cell phone.
Which is nice because then you can set up that separate tone as well to make sure you know that it's a new cache that's coming in.
Yep. So there's also you can also set up notifications with Project GC. And that is, you also have to be a paid member of that service in order to utilize this feature. But it's called the New Cache Notifier. And if you are logged into Project GC, you just also go up to the top right-hand corner to your caching name, click on that, you'll see a drop down, and you'll see New Cache Notifiers. So I have, since I've discovered that service, I've always used it to notify me of events. It's kind of, I started using it to show me new caches that were published, but it was a little too much because it will also, you can set it up to display additional logs. So if somebody has posted write notes or DNF, all the way up to the very first person who logs found it on it, it will send you every single one of those. So I was getting a little too much in my email, and so I turned that off. But the nice thing about Project GC is that there's no distance limitation on it like you have with instant notification services on geocaching.com. So
you can set the radius in it.
You can set it, but what I'm saying is there's no max limit. You're not
Right.
With geocaching.com, you can only go up to 50-mile radius. With Project GC, it's unlimited. So you can, if you wanted to, you can see every single cache that publishes in the world. I don't think you're going to want to do that, but you could if you wanted to. For me, it's nice on those days that I plan on doing a little cache run out of my area. It's cool to know what's come out.
There's actually an app that you can use with it called GPS Logger, and it will update your location and then update the notifications. So I used this when we went to Maine. I think it was last fall, and actually a year ago. And what it would do is when we were in an area, I would run the app so that it would update, and then I would get notifications for that area at that point. And then the next time it updated, it would update where we were and so on and so forth. I kept missing them, but it was kind of neat to have it automatically updating my location and updating the FTF search at that point for that location.
So that feature is called Dynamic Center, and I think that it's only Android. I think that, what did you call it? The GPS Logger? I think that app is on Android. And so I don't know that Dynamic Center works with the iPhone. I'm not sure.
Well, you can manually update it yourself. This app updates it for you, but you can manually update your center as often as you want. The GPS Logger basically just allows you to publish that address to, or where your location to Project GC. So it'll update the area that you're in and give you the notifications for it. The only thing I've noticed is it is a little bit, it's not as fast as doing it directly in geocaching.com, but it does work.
Right. Are you talking about the dynamic center or just notifications in general from Project GC?
Notifications in general from Project GC, but the dynamic center, yeah, that it works. It just seems like it's not as fast. Like if I had that set up in geocaching, I think I would get it faster than this. But it's not that slow. You'd still be able to get an FTF out of it, probably.
You never know. Every minute, every second counts sometimes.
It depends. It depends. You were talking about a 50-mile radius, and I actually I had one that it published at like 8:00 at night. Our guy in South Dakota our reviewer is amazing, but he publishes in the morning and he publishes in the evening, and so this one came out at 8:00. It was wintertime. Nobody wanted to go out for it. And I checked this cache. My wife and I were staying up, binging some Netflix. No, it's the Baby Yoda. It's a bunch of Baby Yoda heads, actually, is what you're seeing in the picture.
Yeah, so GSM times 2 was asking what the 3D print was going in the background.
Oh, he's
which has not yet been turned into a geocache.
He's just a Baby Yoda at this point.
You're distracting him, GSM times 2. That's the story.
But I looked at it. It was about 2:00 in the morning. We were just about ready to go to bed, and I looked, and the cache was still not found. And I said, "What do you say?" And so we took off at 2 in the morning and pulled one out at 2 in the morning. Actually, not in the snowstorm, luckily, but that was why everybody hadn't gone out before, was because it was snowing. So that was back when we were going for every first find too. Now we go for about one a month.
Yeah,
right,
I'm working on that too, and I get a little anxious when it's only been, say, 7 days into the month and I haven't gotten my FTF yet. I don't know about you, but it starts. I start to get nervous if I haven't gotten it yet.
Well, my streak is 108 months now this month, and I can tell you that there have been some 31-day months that it was the last day.
I thankfully have not gotten to that point, but I still get really, really anxious about it.
Yeah, it's always nice to find them the first 2 or 3 days of the month and then just relax the rest of the month.
Well, I was just going to ask, you guys sound like you're at this point mostly just doing it to keep the monthly streak going.
So go ahead.
It depends. I don't mind going to an event where there's going to be a bunch of first finds. I think my record is 49 in a day.
Wow.
But I don't go for every first find now. The first few of the month until we get our first find, we'll go for every one.
Right.
And then at that point, I can wait till next month.
So for me, I try to get out and get as many as I can. It's tough right now because I have a young child. So I'm much more limited than I used to be. I mean, I used to go out no matter what time it was. I would go out, but my wife doesn't let me do that anymore. I don't know why. So for me, I try to get as much as I can. The FTF hounds have increased in number here in my area, and many of them are more able to get up and go than I am. So I definitely need to get that one a month. I'm only at 89 months. But I will go out and get as many as I can. This month, I think I've only gotten 5 or 6. The most I've ever done in a day is 53. And I don't know about a streak. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that one up, and that's something that we can look at later because we can talk about the stats and.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into those stats next because we are running a little long. But Ian had said that he's never had 49 caches get published in a day near him. So
so
that's a big difference.
GeoArts are becoming a big thing.
That's exactly what it was.
So yeah, I mean, every time that I've done 10, 20, 30, 40 FTFs in a day, whatever, it's always been a new GeoArt or a new series of some sort, a big, every 528 feet, there's a cache, a nice long caching trail. And they seem to, in our area at least, it's happening more and more lately. I mean, we have a ton of GeoArt in our area. So, I mean, it has, I think, also attracted more FTF hounds. There's more people here in my area, at least, going after FTFs. We even have a group of people that call themselves the PJ
Crew. Yep.
They go out and when I'm putting my kids to bed, they're out getting caches in their pajamas. And that's happening quite a bit too.
Nice. Caches in your pajamas.
Yep.
Yeah.
I used to do that back before I, had a couple children.
I'm just envisioning the theme song for them.
Cachers in pajamas? No, I don't know.
Caches in pajamas are coming down the stairs. Anyway, so let's talk about how we keep track of our FTFs, because I think that's a big one for
people like
a lot of people.
Because, geocaching.com doesn't track these. So
no, I had to go back and edit a bunch of my logs.
So there's multiple ways that you can track FTFs. I actually use a couple of them. GSAC, I keep a database of all of my finds, and every time I get an FTF, I go in and click on the little FTF box next to that cache. There's also Project GC, and this is by far becoming the easiest way to keep track of your FTFs. And if they have a nice tool in there that you can use to go back and find those FTFs that you haven't tagged as an FTF. And the big thing with Project GC is whenever you log a cache that you are FTF on, you can tag it in FTF, in brackets, parentheses. There's like 3, 4, 5 different tags that you can use in your log to make sure that Project GC picks it up and marks it as an FTF for you. And then you can go back in Project GC and look at your stats. There's stats for month, FTF month streak for most FTFs in a day, FTFs by country, or how many countries they've had FTFs in, which I find amazing. There's somebody out there that a few people that have found FTFs in 65 different countries. That's just amazing. We can't do that here. Obviously, they're from Europe.
Or travel a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, another tool that you can use to keep track of your FTFs is bookmark lists, or now I guess they're called just lists on geocaching.com. So whenever you have got an FTF, you just add it to your FTF list. You can call it whatever you want. Just go into geocaching.com, create a new list, name it My FTFs, and then you just start adding those caches that you were first to find into that list. You can also use that list if you want to start using Project GC to import all of those into Project GC, and then just start tagging from there all your new FTFs so that your list is up to date.
So I actually had created the template in Cachely for my FTFs. So it's just hit that one. It's
Nice.
got the tag in there, and then I just edit the text and
That
move on.
idea.
Because I can never remember what, even though there's like 5 different versions of it, I can never remember what the tag is.
I just picked one and I went with it. So I always
Yeah.
use parentheses in FTF.
Well, and I think I didn't do the parentheses because I started, I think, with the parentheses, but I think I changed it from the parentheses because that's how you trigger the markdown. So I didn't want the interpreter getting confused. Not that it's been a problem, but I wanted to be prepared.
Yeah. Now
All
you're
right.
making me rethink what I do.
Hey, that's our job, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much. Before we go, do you have any last parting tips maybe that you can share?
Going back to the motivations, when you're going for when you're going for an FTF, one of the things about this is there's not likely to be footprints in the snow. There's nobody to call and say, hey, you found this. What did you find here? Or where did you find it? This is the purest form. You're going for something that nobody has found yet.
Yep.
So it's more of a challenge than the standard cache because you have to survive on your own. You can't rely on anybody else to help you find this. And that is, I love it when we find an FTF. That was why until we hit 300, we went for every one of them that published. But and it's been a lot of fun. You really get to know the people who are publishing or the people who are placing them too, where you think to look and that type of thing. So it's if you don't know the people that you're searching, it can be so much harder to find these caches. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yeah, your search is not 5 feet in diameter. It's maybe 60 feet on some caches.
Yeah.
And
a lot of the caches around here refer to it as beta testing.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. When they have the cache placed before they hit the publish button too, because that's another one that I've had happen. Everybody here has probably had that where the cache isn't actually there. They get their first DNF and oh my goodness, I didn't realize it published already. Yeah, I've had people hand me a cache to sign and put in the spot.
Yep.
Well, and as a hider, I will say, you don't necessarily want to hide the cache until you've made sure that it's able to be put there. So you can actually tell the reviewer in submitting your cache, hey, this is not ready to go. I'm just looking for the qualifications. And they'll disable the cache for you until it's ready and let you know if it's a valid location.
Yeah. I remember one time I was going to do a magnetic cache on a telephone box, and later, so I had it all ready. Let's go ahead and publish it. And oh, hey, it went and published. Okay, great. I went out there. The thing was made of aluminum, not steel. So I got to disable this. The magnets aren't going to stick. Oops. I didn't test that beforehand. I assumed metal was metal, but
Metal is metal.
yeah, well,
It's just not ferrous.
it wasn't ferrous metal.
You needed some Velcro.
Mm-hmm. But that was one of those things that, like, oh, it published. I better go out there. And, it was just across the street from where I work. So it was no problem. And I had it all ready to go. I just hadn't walked over there and done it yet. Like, oh, I got to disable this. This is embarrassing.
Very nice. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for all of the insight. And hopefully we'll get a few more cachers trying to go out and be FTF founds themselves.
Looks like we have a lot in the chat here tonight.
Give you guys a run for your money.
Definitely. All right. Thanks again. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys soon. But next week, we're going to be talking about refreshing the game board. We've got a couple of guests for that. And that's that show that I was expecting to have happened last week. So this will be interesting, Chris. You'll have to like bail on me next week. He's like, ooh, free week. I can go out for those FTFs. And then the week after, so this is going to be our second show of January, or second show of 2020, I guess. 2020-02? Yeah, it doesn't work. Okay. It's going to be our randomized show. So send us all of your great comments about FTFing, anything we talked about in the last randomized show, anything we talked about even before that, or something we haven't even talked about yet. Make sure to email those to us at geogearheads@cashmaniacs.com by, I think it's the 7th, if you want to have those in on that show. So again, that's geogearheads@cashmaniacs.com.
Hey, Daryl, that's randomized XCiv.
Oh, it is. I had tried to sound that out yet.
XCiv. Oh, so while you're trying to figure out what Roman numeral XIV is, make sure you check the Cashmaniacs website at cashmaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners. So leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cashmaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cashmaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cashmaniac shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. This show's copyright 2019, because it still is 2019, by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.